right, welcome to another installment of the Fragments of Silicon Reviews. 4 reviews up this week, the first of which is Mary Skelter 2. Longtime fans of the show might remember that we did a review of the first game a couple of years ago. Like, in what may have been thinking about it, the last
Mary
Ghost
Skelter
Like...
Nightmares, or whatever was it called?
No, it was just... I think it was Mary Skelter. Okay, this is a bit confusing.
Oh,
Because...
right.
Okay, I'm going to have to lay some background here. Mary Skelter was the original game, and then Mary Skelter 2 comes along here, and without getting too into the plot details, it's an alternate continuity tale. But then they went back and remade the first game as Mary Skelter Nightmares.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing because Mary Skelter Nightmares, it has Mary Skelter 2 content in it. And you need to play Mary Skelter 2 before you play Mary Skelter Nightmares. Because chronologically, Mary Skelter Nightmares comes after this. I had to look up all this up in the Mary Skelter wiki.
Yeah, I was looking up into it a little bit, and it was like this is both a sequel and a prequel.
Yeah, like I said, it's an alternate continuity tale. Like, because the main characters here, let's say, don't appear in Mary Skelter for reasons that would be very, very spoilery. And the whole saga concluded with Mary Skelter finale. Okay, so you got all that? I hope so.
You'll be tested later.
I'm like, basically, for the tale of Otsu and Little Mermaid, it starts here in Mary Skelter 2. Now you will see characters from Mary Skelter 1 return, though they have been, let's say, recontextualized. And once again, not really wanting to go into spoilers about that. Though I suppose one of them, I don't really think I can avoid, in that, if I'm recalling correctly, one of the main characters, like the main protagonists of Mary Skelter 1 were Jack and Alice.
Right.
And Jack and Alice show up.
I think you're still playing as Jack. Jack is still there.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Alice goes... I'm trying to remember the fucking term. Like, Blood Skelter?
Yeah.
I think. And they get set... And Otsu, Little Mermaid, and Jack get separated from the group. Well, sort of. It, like, some of the other playable characters, but a whole bunch of non-playable, at that point, characters show the fuck up. I'll get to them later. Anyway, the first twist, I suppose, is that Jack turns into a nightmare. And if you recall the first game or any of the other games, nightmares are the unkillable boss creatures that show up every now and again in the fucking dungeons. When they show up, you're supposed to run. But the thing is, Jack is not an unfriendly nightmare. He's on your side, let's say, and helps you out for, once again, reasons that I can't really go into. And what that functionally means is, like, Otsu gets 2 attacks every turn in terms of gameplay. And there are different special abilities that you can do. And, yeah, there are systems upon systems in this game, like many, many compile heart / idea factory joints. Like, In terms of pure gameplay, if you remember Mary Skelter 1, it plays pretty much the same as that. It's a dungeon crawler in the style of Etrian Odyssey. Like, this time around, things are even more dynamic with the dungeons. Like for example, one of the
Which
new
is nice because it makes it more interesting, but sometimes it's a pain because you get hit by traps and that sucks.
yes, they call this in game battle gimmicks. Like when you like the aforementioned spikes, they not only show up in the dungeon, they can show up in the battle, and you can't destroy them. You potentially have to endure them, or the enemy has to endure them. Let's see. Other additions are the Kagome effect. By attacking enemies with a weapon with a bloodshot effect, you can accrue a lot of blood and force the enemy to turn it back on you. Backstabbing enemies deals more damage and garners more blood. And they must waste a turn to face you once more. Critical notice. A system where you're told the character's next attack will be a critical hit. It comes in 3 tiers. With increasing power, the flash of the notice is combos and weapons with the strike property are more likely to trigger the critical notice. And the embrace command. A blood maiden can use the embrace command on any maiden in Blood Skelter or Ripper Jack mode. This will cause all of the targeted character's attacks to be directed towards the enemy of the embrace user. This is kind of a mitigation factor here because in Blood Skelter,
it's a way when someone goes berserk to make them not kill you.
Yeah. I remember this in fucking Breath of Fire 3. It can be a gamble to try and make use of a berserk combatant or to sacrifice and protect a critical party member. So yeah, there are a few additions in terms of gameplay, but generally, if you played Mary Skelter 1, you will be very familiar with Mary Skelter 2. You know, the gameplay is, once again, solid, among the best I've seen from Compile Heart and Idea Factory. And once again, if you know our review catalog, we've covered quite a few of these games. Unfortunately, it's still got a lot of the bad parts of Compile Heart on Idea Factory joints. And that is just the fucking terrible pacing. I've never been a fan of this. Going all the way back to when we covered Mugen Souls, which was, God, how many years ago was that?
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah. But, you know, this doesn't seem to change, at least with our RPGs. I think we've cut, I think, Galax, you covered something from their non-RPG wing last year.
I think so, yeah.
But anyway, it's because there are endless tutorials that will tell you everything, just tutorials upon tutorials upon tutorials upon tutorials, and also,
which I guess is better than not knowing how to do stuff, but
but there's better ways
so
of doing this. You can have them be optional, or maybe get some of them out of the way before. I don't know. I just know that it gets tedious, but nothing grates my nerves more than the endless fucking conversations these games thrust upon me. Because
something, but that's part of the appeal for certain people.
I know this is probably subjective, but because very quickly in the game, you will free a group of people from a jail cell. And then you get endless fucking conversations from everyone in the fucking group. And this always fucking happens in a Compile Heart Idea Factory RPG. And it never ceases to infuriate me. I get that this is one of the appeals for certain people. I find it just because I want to get to the fucking dungeon crawling. Now, I will grant you, yes, you can skip these, but you still need to pay attention to the conversations because otherwise you're not going to know what's going on in the game. So, I guess call it a wash. It basically, my review comes down to it's in terms of RPG mechanics, design, it's as fine as it ever was. Like I said, I'm glad at least we've come far away from the Mugen Souls games, which were literally broken in their mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we're covering the PC version. Mary Skelter 2 has actually been out for a fair number of years on like the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. Ghostlight Games, once again, that's a name that was once fairly common in our review pile, but hasn't been heard since Oh My God Zombies, the Switch version that we reviewed a couple years back. And there is a story behind that we'll get into when we have our good friend Ross on the show in March. But the short version, as I've been told, is mainly they've been doing port work for other entities. Mainly Idea Factory, who have been publishing under their own name for a few years. I get their press releases all the time. But for whatever reason, once again, this is something we will find out when we talk to Ross. Mary Skelter 2 is coming out under the Ghostlight Games banner. And the PC version is, unfortunately, in line with other PC versions that we have played. Once again, I'm glad that some long-term problems have still be fixed. Since this is a years late port, it does have the DLC that was brought out on the consoles embedded in it, and it's optional. It's default off, but if you want, and it's not game-breaking stuff like I remember once again the Mugen Souls DLC being, and you couldn't turn that off. Like, just, I know I'm bringing up the Mugen Souls games a lot, but I do want to put in perspective how far these games have come. So it will add some items to like the general store and the, let's say, optional bikini options, stuff like that, or other Idea Factory games like Death and Request or whatever it's called. There's some outfits there. Nothing too special. Nothing, here's these incredibly strong weapons that will kill all the fucking challenge. Nothing like that. Like I said, everything is just better here. But I was having some technical problems with this game. Not the same technical problem that I had it with Mary Skelter, where just when I got to a certain point, the game would keep crashing, and that was a known issue. Don't know if that ever got fixed. But with this one, I was having some problems with the saving and loading. Mainly with the saving, not all the time, but pretty reliably when I saved, like just after it would save, the game would freeze. It would still register the save, thankfully. But there was also a time when the load state got corrupted, and I couldn't load the game. So it still got some, at least when I played it, because I did play this pre-release, though I don't recall seeing any patches for the game yet. I imagine this is probably an issue that Ghostlight is aware of and is working to fix. if they can, but I do want to make a note of it. Let's see, in terms of graphics, once again, it's in line with the previous Mary Skelter games, or a game and I guess future. At least the dungeon crawlers. Like I know there's some spin-offs that go in other genres, but
Right.
it's got the same very surreal art style. Got the same kind of artwork. The same. Really good music. I think the music has been my favorite part of the Mary Skelter games. Like, I guess the biggest thing to recommend about this is the new features, and depending how much you want lesbians in your game, not even joking about that, it's like the main romance this time is between two girls. Just making a note of that. Anyway, any additional questions, comments, and concerns from you two about Mary Skelter 2?
I think I'm good.
Not much. I enjoyed the small amount that I played of it. Okay, just dungeon crawlers take a lot of time investment.
Yeah. And that's another reason why I didn't play as much as I planned to, because I had 2 RPGs to play this week. Like, one of them took a lot. I put 30 hours in, and I still haven't hit Chapter 2.
Oof.
More on that in a few reviews down the line. But anyway, so Mary Skelter 2, the PC port, is clocking in at $34.99 regular price. It's currently on sale for $29.74. Though you can get this on other consoles. I'd probably say overall, if you're looking for the cheapest price, you might want to check for perhaps the physical version of Mary Skelter 2. Because how physical versions can work. But then again, this is a very niche RPG. So this could also be very, very expensive in its physical version. I guess looking up, let me see, Mary Skelter 2 for the Nintendo Switch. How much is this digitally? Yes, live research. But in the meantime, as far as $34 or $29 for Mary Skelter 2, I think that is a fair price, provided that you can stand this game. I don't think there's any other way to put it, because, look, there's going to be a lot that's off-putting about this game. Whether it be the art style, the, it's very anime. Like, whether you can deal with the licking mechanic. That was in the first game, by the way. That's how they do the blood fueling. Like,
The girls look kind of youngish,
Yeah. But I've seen worse from Idea Factory and Compile Heart.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I am seeing like the Nintendo Switch version has Mary Skelter Nightmares. Let me see if that is the case with. Let's see. Yeah, it does. Yeah, Mary Skelter Nightmares is in the PC version as well, which makes sense. But yeah. Anyway, no, that is the. I hate it when I have 10,000 windows. Anyway, so for 34, and I'm seeing that the Nintendo Switch version is $40. That may be a bit much, but I'm like, but I suppose the biggest question is how much of an audience there is for this. Probably bigger than you think. I know I know this is incredibly niche, even by JRPG standards, but let's just say companies don't undertake efforts that would be thought to be unprofitable. So, clearly Ghostlight and Idea Factory think that there's a market. for this, and they haven't been proven wrong so far. Anyway, like I said, overall, I would say Mary Skelter 2 is the second best Idea Factory RPG I've played. I'd still put Fairy Fencer F at the top. But, it's probably the best Etrian Odyssey you'll be able to get without, buying an Etrian Odyssey game. Right, so anything else to speak on Mary Skelter 2 here?
Not that I can think of.
All right.
I think I'm good.
All right, so that'll about do it for Mary Skelter 2. Be sure to tune in after the break, as Petty Fan will be reviewing C14 Dating.